When former President Bill Clinton visited New Bedford in 2016 on behalf of Hillary Clinton's candidacy for president, it was not the first time he had visited the city. He spoke at a rally in support of Shannon O'Brien's bid for governor of Massachusetts in 2002. He addressed an enthusiastic crowd in Custom House Square in the heart of the city.
I want to say it is good to be back in New Bedford for me. Thank you.
His visit was also not a first for a presidential visit to the city. John Quincy Adams visited New Bedford twice after his presidency. In 1835, Adams, his son, and several others traveled from Nantucket to New Bedford via steamer. In 1843, Adams returned as a guest of Joseph Grinnell and was escorted from the depot by a cavalcade of young men bearing torches and under the command of George A. Brown. A public reception was held the next day, where reporters say he spoke for 20 minutes. Then Congressman Abraham Lincoln visited New Bedford in 1848 in support of Zachary Taylor for president. He stayed in the Grinnell Mansion and spoke in Liberty Hall before a large crowd. In 1874, then-President Ulysses S. Grant arrived in New Bedford by steamer from Oak Bluffs. Crowds lined the waterfront to greet him, and a reception in his honor was held at City Hall. The next known presidential visit was on April 29, 1912. President William Howard Taft received a warm welcome. A large crowd followed behind Taft's car as it made its way to Common Park, where President Taft addressed a crowd of thousands. In 1936, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt stopped in the city to promote his New Deal, a plan designed to introduce a new era of economic growth. Harry S. Truman campaigned in New Bedford for president in 1944 and for re-election in 1948. He later returned to the region in 1952 in support of Adlai Stevenson for president. 2 days after Truman's visit in 1952, Dwight D. Eisenhower made a campaign stop in New Bedford. A ticker tape parade was held as the Eisenhower motorcade made its way up Union Street to Buttonwood Park. Thousands of people lined the streets and filled Buttonwood Park, where Eisenhower addressed the crowd. Senator John F. Kennedy was a frequent visitor to New Bedford, due in part to the proximity of his home. In 1976, Jimmy Carter made a campaign stop in New Bedford as part of his bid for the White House. The Ronald Reagan presidential campaign had an office in the former W.T. Grant building on Purchase Street in New Bedford in 1980. Reagan sometimes greeted the supporters in front of the headquarters and in other downtown locations. And while campaigning, George W. Bush spoke at Louis on the Wharf. Politicians have been warmly received by the people of New Bedford. And if the most recent visit by former President Clinton is any indication, this warm reception continues.